episode of the Profitable Content Creator Podcast. And today I'm going to talk to you about how I'm changing my content strategy for 2023. Now, at the time I'm filming this, it's still January, and I have been goal setting for myself for 2023. And one of the big things I wanted to do this year is to really expand my influence, be seen and heard. So one of the goals I have this year is to blow up my YouTube channel, to get 200,000 views on my YouTube channel, and I'm on my way. I've gone off to a fabulous start. I've taken my YouTube channel and taken it from kind of like here and there views to over 300 to 500 to 1,000 views every time I upload a new piece of content. So I'm still doing, I want to just caveat this, I'm still doing a lot of the things that I was doing back in 2014 when I got started with content creation, such as a content plan, my research methods, finding hot topics, and creating content consistently and answering people's questions. But what I'm doing today, how I'm delivering my content, opposed to what I was doing last year, is dramatically changing. But before I dive into today's topic, I just want to give you guys a little background into who I am. I'm Kristen Poborski, and I help healers, life and business coaches, and course creators dial in and implement their content creation strategies so that they can attract more clients and make more moolah in their businesses. 7 years ago, actually it was in 2014, almost longer than 7 years ago, I think, because it's 2023 now. I was a struggling virtual assistant, and I was being pulled in a million directions. I couldn't even go on vacation without working. It was terrible. I remember one vacation in Palm Springs where my kids and my family are all outside playing in the pool, and I am stuck inside working on a gorgeous 90-degree day where I should have just been relaxing and being by the pool and having fun. I realized at that point I couldn't, and I did not want to sustain this anymore. And you know what? I said to myself, I am not going to do this anymore. So I searched around and looked at what was the common denominator that my clients needed from me, and what was actually happening at that point to grow their business. And what really showed up for me was content creation. I discovered this method that I still use today, my content calendar process, where we decide what content categories we talk about and how to research topics and all of that. You can find that information on how to do that in the link in my show notes. But what it did for both my business and my clients' businesses when I started implementing it was it started getting views and engagement, revived their email list, because we were actually creating content that their audiences wanted to consume. So we've used this along with what it morphed into, which is the rapid content creation process, plus my smart, simple content marketing and automation programs. I still use all of that stuff, that basic stuff I discovered in 2014. But what we do with it today and how we deliver it has changed so much since 2014. And so let's kind of go through what that process is. So what I do is, and this is the big thing, again, we got to create a plan, and then we create repurposable content, and then we figure out where our audience is and how to deliver that to them, okay? So those are the three things that I'm going to talk to you today in more detail about in this podcast. And when I'm done, I'm going to answer 3 questions here. How often should I update my content plan? how do I figure out what my content categories should be and what types of content should I be creating? All right, but let's dive into number one. The first thing that you want to do, and this is what I always do, and it's pretty much the same as I've always done, but how I create my content plan is definitely different than what I did back in 2014. Back then, I still did go out and research and find hot topics, but everything was always aligned with what I do in my business. So I only create content around content creation, content marketing, also course creation, because I teach that in another course. And sometimes I will dip my toes into email marketing because it actually aligns, and I do teach that inside of my courses. So I pick my categories, and those are my bigger categories. And at any one time, I might have 6 categories going on, but I really kind of keep it to what I'm focusing on at the moment for what I'm creating my content. And it's usually aligned with what I'm launching at that moment, is what I'm talking about and what I'm creating content on. Then I go in and I start creating content. Now, this is the big difference that I am doing now versus what I was doing before. I create repurposable content. So that means I create a single piece of content that I, number one, can break up into multiple pieces of content so that I'm not feeling like I have to create a ton of content. So it breaks down my content process to probably 30 minutes for an entire month's worth of content. So I create video content, and then I take that content and I repurpose it into audio and written content. So it goes into 3 basic places: YouTube, my blog, and my podcast. That's where it all starts, because those are real evergreen places where people are looking for your content, because that's where your content should always go, because it's going to have the longest shelf life there. It's truly evergreen. So you really want to focus on creating that content first, and then taking it and creating your social media off of your evergreen content. All right. So we create the repurposable video content. I no longer will create any kind of written content. There'll be written content, but it all supports my video content, because that's what's working. That's what people want to hear. That's how I'm able to communicate more about who I am, what I stand for, what it's like to work with me, my philosophies around content creation, which it should be simple, it should be easy, and it should be relevant to your audience. When I create content around what is relevant to my audience and what they want to hear, I get views. Just last week, I did a video on 4 hacks to create better content, and it got me 1,000 views just in a couple of hours. And it was a combo of, that was hot content that I had already created, and then I actually repurposed it into another form of content and put it out there again, and it exploded. So I love that, because short video content made from the long video content is really where you're going to get traction these days, and it's how I'm getting traction, and I'm no longer worrying about what's really going on in social media, because this other thing is getting me to where I want to be, to my 200,000 downloads on YouTube. And trust me, I'm gonna get there in 2023. Just come back at the end of 2023. There'll be another podcast where I'm going to update this, but I'm all well on my way to numbers wise. I just need to keep replicating what I'm already doing, and I know confidently that I'm going to get there. Okay, so that leads me to my third pointer here, which is figuring out where your audience is instead of following what is hot right now. Now, everybody's all excited about Reels and Facebook Reels and TikTok, right? But it's kind of saturated out there. So this is why I am doing what I'm doing where I'm doing it, because it's kind of the Wild West over there. I've tried all the other ones. I'm not getting the visibility that I'm getting over in YouTube. So that's where I'm focusing on, because that is where my audience is. That's where I get to be seen and heard a lot easier than trying to crack the algorithm over on Instagram and Facebook. Not to say that I'm not repurposing my content over there. I am. And it is getting me more views, but not to the degree that I'm getting over on YouTube. So what I tell you to do is test out a few platforms. Go with your favorite one, but I really urge you to try out YouTube and go there. Post consistently, try out a few things, see what that clear winner is, and then look at what it is. Like, you might have a few winners, because that's what it took for me, was a few winners, and I started noticing a trend of what was working. So I use that trend as information to create more content following what is working, what I saw was working. And that was what took me from 192 views to 300 views to 1,000 views in a single day on my content. So you can look at that. You can use that same strategy over on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, anywhere, but you've got to pay attention to what your content is. Don't just post it and forget it, all right? You always got to look at the numbers. And I teach that right inside of my Smart Simple Content Marketing and Automation course as one of my workshops, Know Your Numbers Workshop. And trust me, this is a principle that I've been following long before I got into what I do now. The numbers never lie. So that's why I'm urging you to experiment, look at what people are doing, and then do it yourself, and then see what results, what's working, where it is, and then focus all your efforts doing that, okay? So you want to keep focusing on growing, just like I'm doing over on YouTube, because I know now what works, and all I have to do now is multiply what I want to get to at the end of 2023, 200,000 downloads. I know how many times I need to post out on YouTube so that I can get to that number, get more visibility, and the ripple effect of doing all of this is that my list is starting to grow. People are opting in. I'm getting seen and heard. And all my long form, all my other content is also trending up because people are discovering me on YouTube, which can be the same thing that can happen for you over on Instagram, over on TikTok, over on Facebook. You just pick the platform that's going to work for you and go there. That is my final tip on what I'm focusing on in 2023 is the platform where I'm getting the most traction. I'm still posting in other places because I can easily repurpose it and automate all of that. But I'm focusing my efforts where I know I'm going to get the return, and I'm creating video content. And I'm still following my content planning, how I've always done it, but how I'm delivering it and a few things that I'm doing inside of YouTube are making all the difference for me. So I urge you to actually try what I'm doing and see how it affects your content creation and your engagement. So, if you want some more tips on how to create profitable content, I've got my Profitable Content Creators Guide right down below. It's got the 7 steps to creating profitable content. The bonus is something that I've always been talking to you right here today inside of this episode. Plus, I've got the 5 steps or the 5 mistakes that you might be making with your content and how to fix them. So let's dive into today's questions, okay? So the first question that I get is, how often should I update my content plan? So here's what I do. I've actually been updating it quite a bit because I am creating a lot of video content, and because I use my 12x method where it doesn't take me very long to create a piece of content, I update it quite a bit. The minimum I would say is monthly. And just look and see what's working and start creating more of that. If you're just getting started, you might want to wait a month, 2 months, 3 months to update your content plan. You could also use Google Analytics and go through your old content, look at what's working, and start creating more along those topics and categories. So that's my tip. So that leads me into question number 2. How do I figure out what my content categories should be? What to do is to go through what you coach, what you teach in your practice, and use that to make content categories. So what I coach and teach on and do for my one-on-one clients is content creation. I also do course creation, and I do some email marketing, and I use those as my broad ones, but then I look inside of my programs and go, oh, I teach this in here, I teach that in there. I can talk about that inside of my content because it gives me a natural way to talk about what I do and how I do it, and share stories that are going to inspire my audience to do what I'm doing, what my clients are doing, and what my students are doing, and to also inspire them to want to follow me, learn more from me, and actually join my community. And that's how I get them closer to working with me. All right, so you want to align your content categories with what you do in your business and what you teach in your courses or you coach in your coaching programs. So, question number 3 is, what types of content should I create? It's not types. It is the number 1 piece of content I want you to create is video content. Now, when we go to social media content, that can be a combo of video content. It can be reels, it can be long form, short form. It can be content that is carousel content. If you don't know what that is, that's when you see those things on Instagram where you swipe through and you create content. You can still create quotes and things like that. That should be sort of like the fluff, but I want you to really in 2023 embrace video content, especially short form video content, because that is what's going to give you the success, the engagement, build your following, build your coaching or healing or course creation practice, is sharing your content via or using video. So that's it for today's episode of The Profitable Content Creator. Just to remind you, I've got the links to the Profitable Content Creators Roadmap down below with the 7 tips to creating profitable content, along with the mistakes and how to fix them. And I've also got the link down below to my 12x content creation method, where I teach how to create profitable content in a month's worth of profitable content in 30 minutes or less, so that you can show up everywhere with less efforts. So if you haven't subscribed to the show or my channel here, please do so. Please leave your comments and ask me any questions. If there's something confusing, I'll be here answering questions. Or if you have something that you want to have me cover in future episodes, definitely leave me a comment. I'm checking them all the time. So see you in the next episode.